Hi, everybody.
Hey, what's up?
Not much. How are you doing?
Okay. My Lakers lost, but okay.
Oh. Well, next game, right?
Yeah, we almost came back from 20 points down though. We got it down to
Oh.
3,
Oh, yeah?
but it was just false hope though.
Well, I don't follow basketball very much, but occasionally I see my husband watches it. Next game. Season so just started a little bit ago, so right?
Yeah, it's in the Western Conference Finals now, so we're up 2-1 in the series. But I hope we would have won yesterday, so we would have had a 3-0 stranglehold. But it didn't happen.
Okay. Aiko, sorry. I was in office hours earlier, you guys, and Zoom keeps booting me out, but one of the student was in there and he asked a lot of questions, so
I did see that. I did see that. I didn't sleep till like 5 in the morning. I saw you post something up like at 4 in the morning, huh?
Yeah, that's my normal productive time is between 2 to 4.
Yeah, I was playing the stupid game my brother got me hooked on my iPhone, and then I was like, I saw that you uploaded something like at 4 in the morning. I was like, oh, I guess Mrs. Professor Nguyen is up as well.
Yeah, I intended to do that earlier, but I got distracted by other things, and then so I was like, oh, I should put it up so they can see it when they wake up in the morning. Yeah, so yeah, if you have any questions, you can ask that now.
Okay, my question is about that if statement, that nested statement, if statement.
So what do you want to know about if statement?
If statement.
Oh, elif statement?
No, you have if nest statement.
Oh, I think nested if.
Yeah.
Nested if, yeah.
Nested if statement. Can you show me the last lecture you did that code? You said 10 cups coffee or 6.
Yeah, sorry, I've been going since 9 a.m. this morning, so in between I try to like eat something real quick. But yeah, I can show that to you now.
Mama asked a question.
So let me get to my USB here. So for the nested if,
yes,
you wanted to see the program from last time, right?
Yes.
My dogs, they just waited for me to get on Zoom and then they want to go outside. Every day. All right. So here's the nested if. Yes. And you can include more else underneath like the program in the example, or you can have it just like that, which is one of those. No. Yeah. So
I tried the program. If the condition satisfied the first one bigger than 10, and fail the second one bigger than 6. So in this case, what way to go? What to go to else?
So it'll just kick to else. If the input is, let's say, like 4, right, instead of 10 or 6, then it will just kick it to else regardless.
But they satisfied 10, like 12. But for second if, they're not satisfied, like
Yeah.
5.
Right. Then you should also, what you can do is you can also add like the next level else. So we can do an else here.
Okay.
All right. And then you can also have another else here, you know.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't do that, but you can definitely add multiple level of else that way. So that way it would go to the appropriate.
Okay, that's why I feel strange, because I input a number, satisfied 10,
And it
failed.
ends, yeah.
Then stop. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't
Yeah.
run.
So you have a logical error there, right? So what you need to do is you can add all the else's to take care of that logical error, so it flows right? If it's false, then it's just gonna go to this one for the inside, and then go to this one for the next one, and then go to this one for the last one. You can do it that way.
Also, I put the first condition, like bigger than 30, in the first if. The coding doesn't go to.
Yeah, because, well, first you want to ask them how many cups of coffee. So you have to apply the condition for those, right? Because the input is about the cup of coffee, but you want to translate that coffee to dollars. So yeah, so when you ask them how many cups of coffee are you going to buy today, then we want it to be above 6. And then so take that value, multiply it by $5, and check it against 30.
My mean is first time I wrote this code, I used that
The 30?
30 as the first if. The
Yeah.
second if 10, 6.
Right. You can still use 30, but you have to play with the condition a little bit. Like, you know, you have to really stage it where, okay, so how does that 30 translate to the cups of coffee that we ask them to buy, you know?
Okay. You mean you have to match the input, this how many cups to do the if, right? The first because you ask first.
Yeah, so this if was to check for this input, right? Because the previous purchase, I use previous purchase here, and then I use previous purchase for the input. So I want to check for how long, like in the 30 days, how many cups did they buy? And then for the second one, that's my next if, to check that next input. And then lastly, I wanted to take the second one and then convert it to price, right, to the cost, and then check it with 30.
Okay, I see. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, you're welcome. Any other questions?
No.
Okay. All right, thank you. Okay, so let's get started for today's lab. Let me put my glasses on because that way I can see better. Okay, so today we are going to work on more control statement. I didn't give a lot of programs, but the programs are fairly simple. So you can download the lab from our Canvas. I had this ready before, but as Chris mentioned, I forgot to upload it on Canvas and turn it on. So I realized it at 4 o'clock in the morning. So I wanted to do that so that way you can take a look at it when you see Canvas this morning or before class. But anyway, if you didn't get a chance to, it's in lab 5. So some of these we kind of partially done in the past. And then I took some of my Java and then I tweaked it a little bit. So some of the assignments look kind of like CIS30A if you had my CIS30A. But so similarly, you're going to see a lot of these things being used for applications, for retailing online, for a lot of things. So I try to make it where you would see it in the real world practice instead of just generating numbers and checking numbers, you know, for learning. That's it. But I wanted for you to see the big picture that it can be applied, right? So using the case scenario would help. So in the lab, it starts with the pizza case. And this one is, you know, we're only limiting to only medium and large pizza. So that way it's easy for you to write, but you can definitely expand on this and make it a full application for a pizzeria, right? And I didn't require input for this one because, and you can definitely do an input and test it. So Supreme Pizzeria sells large pizza for $12.99. The medium pizza for $10.99. The restaurant offers the following discount to its customer. $2 off on 2 or more large pizza. $1 off on 2 or more medium pizza. Write a Python program that displays the discount and total of purchase of 3 large pizza and 2 medium pizzas. The program should include appropriate control statements, variables, and output. Provide the screen capture and script. So to start, what I'm going to do is I'm going to do it like my assembly class. We're going to outline this real quick and see how we want it to flow through the program. And then you can pitch in and give me ideas. I did write the program and test it. So instead of giving you all the solutions, right, I'm going to walk you through on how to really start it. So we know that we would need to do what? We would need to declare some kind of variable to hold the price of our large pizza, right? So I'm going to call that step A. Let me change up the font color so you know what I input. Okay, so we would start with declare variables containing prices, right? Large and medium. Okay, so we are given this information, so that takes care of that. Now, the next piece of information it gives us is $2 off on 2 or more large pizza. So we have to implement that somehow. So what do you think? What would you do next? Anyone?
You create the discounts.
So declare other variable, right? For discounts, right? We need to specify for the large and medium. Of course, they're different. Even though, you know, like you can use 2D lists, or in the sense where C++ and Java, I usually give this case to and make them implement 2-dimension arrays. But in this sense, we're only going to do variable. Okay, so we got the variables for our prices and our discounts. What's next? What do we do next?
You calculate the total amount of the purchase of the 2 large and 2 medium pizzas in the variable.
Yeah, so here they tell us that there are 3 large and 2 medium. So Chris suggests that we operate the calculation, right? Any other suggestion?
You have to ask how many pizza input.
Okay, so you wanted to do input, and you can do that here, right? Your option would be input, okay? And then we still have to have variable for discount. So our calculation here, Chris mentioned that we want to calculate order, right? Which is three large and 2 medium. And we can simply use the operator for that. So we'll be, it will be price times what? Number of pizza, right? Do we care about the number of pizza?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Okay. So now you can simply use the number of pizza for the large and the medium to check against this, and then calculate operate the order calculation for the total at the end. Okay, however you wanted to do that, you can have it flow. So now with our control statement, we should have multiple ifs, right? So we would have one level that's going to do what? It's going to check the large, right? So we would use if and else, right? Okay. So what should it check for the first one?
If there's more than 2 large pizzas.
Okay, so we should check for if the order, right? If the customer order is greater or equal to 2 large pizzas, right?
Wouldn't if we check that though, wouldn't we need to have input? Because we already know there is more than that.
No, you can set static without input. I can have customer order 3 large and then customer order 2 medium.
Okay.
Setting it as a variable.
Yeah, exactly. So what we're missing it up here is that we still have to declare variables for customer order, right? If you don't do input, if not input, okay? Because you want to have 2 variables, right? One that's gonna be for the large order of pizza, and then the second will be for the medium, right? And then you would use that to check again, so that would represent the number of pizza that they order. We would use that to really check against this right here.
Okay, yeah, that makes more sense.
Okay. Now the second if else statement, then we would do an if else. We would do a customer order to check against the 2 medium pizza, right? And then lastly, our step F would be to display discount, right? Display, what did I need? Oh, total order, total for order. That's it. That's what I wanted, to display the discount and the total purchase. And the discount simply is that could be derived from here, and actually you can implement this under each one, right? I can have it if else, and then if it checks true for the discount, it will show the discount, right? That makes a little bit better flow, in my opinion. If you have other ways, let me know. So we simply say that if they have order over 2 pizza, obviously they would get, if it's true, then we should show the discount. Otherwise it's going to go to else, and then it's going to show no discount, right? And then if it checks for the 2 medium pizza, if it's true, then it's going to show discount. If it's not, then no discount. We can simply display that as well. You receive no discount, or buy more pizza. And we would display the total for the order. And the total for the order here would consist of what? The calculation, this step right here, right? So you would bring down the calculation output from step D. Okay, so that kind of give you the picture of how that would look. Any question? Now, if you did the input, just make sure that you parse it Okay, so we can simply parse it with integer. So you would do int and then input on the inside. But if you do it static like me, then you would have to have this step C. Okay, if you don't do input. Let me highlight this. Okay. Okay, any questions? So I'll show you my program so you can have a general idea of what it is. My husband, he was, again, express his opinion about this class. He mentioned to me yesterday, he said, well, you know, if you start giving them the program all the time, then you're not helping them. So maybe you should just, you know. So this is why I wanted to take it back and kind of walk it through so that way you can see it, and then hopefully you'll be able to write it on your own. But here you go.
Yeah, I agree with his statement though.
Yeah, I think that you really have to try to do that, because simply if you just look at my code and then do, or my script, and then do it like what I did, then, you know. But in this type of program, there's only so many ways that you would approach it, right? Like,
Yeah.
so and so he said, well, introduction to Python, it's okay for you to show it, but if you start getting to the upper classes, you know, they can have different approaches. I said, I understand, but you know, their students are new to programming, and I want to make sure that they understand it. So this kind of gives you the steps. So if you're not sure on how to approach it, look at the problem and kind of piece it out, right? Like, what do I do here at this information? If they're giving me this information, like what we did up here, right? We got the price. So I went here and I said, okay, maybe I'll make a variable for the prices. Then we would also have discount information, so we'll make variable for the discount information. And then we got the order for the customer, so we would need to make a variable for order. And then we would need to calculate that order because we need to display the total. And then we have to check the condition for these. Okay, so all of that little pieces of information kind of give you the backbone of your program. So you simply go in here and you would establish that. So I outline it, and then I can quickly write it in idle. Okay, do you want to see the program, or you don't want to see the program? It's I'm fine with not showing you the program. Okay, you want to try it on your own and not see it? Okay, so no objection. Let me see what you guys put in the chat. Okay. Sean said yes. Okay, fine. Here, let me open it up.
Boo.
Well, for the final project, you're going to have to write a program, right? So, and you will be graded on it. So if you have practice now.
Can we, when are you gonna post them up?
I will give you approximately 6 weeks for that. So about week 10.
Okay.
Yeah, that's ample amount of time to really write something. So here is my program. Like I said, I have, and I printed at the top that we did the order for 3 large and 2 medium. So my large price is $12.99. My medium price is $10.99. My discount for the large is $2. My discount for the medium is $1. My order large is 3. My order medium is 2. Then I do the amount calculation like what Chris suggested. So based on the order, okay. I did it separately because I have two separate variables for the large and the medium. So, and then you can combine it. So amount large, I took the order large, which is 3 pizza. I multiplied by the price for the large. My amount medium, I took the order for medium and I multiplied by the medium price. Then I entered the control statement. So I put if the order large is greater than 2, display the discount. Okay. And then I also calculate the amount after the discount by subtracting it. So my amount large is updated with the discount. Then I print the order with the discount in dollars. Okay. Else, I just put no discount applied. Print that, that's easy. For my second condition, I applied the if medium is, if the order of the medium is greater than or equal to 2, then show the discount, right? And here, remember, we want it in decimal because we have whole number and float combined. So it's gonna try to do like a 1-point decimal. So you can format it. So this one I use is the round with the 2F, and I pass it in here, okay? And or you can just do the curly brace with the 2F.
Yeah, can you do that with 2F?
Yeah, whichever way to make it. Yeah, the other way with the dot format is also short to do, doesn't matter. And then again, after I printed the discount information, yes.
I got it. So if we declare a variable in the if statement, can we use it outside of that if, or is it only that it?
It can still be used because Python, the way it flows is one by one. But yeah, but by practice, it's better to global it, to put it at the top so you can, you know, and when you work with function later on, you know that the function, if it doesn't return, then it gets lost. So yeah, but yeah, technically you can.
Can you explain that 100% total 2F, that part?
Yeah, so what this does for me is that I'm gonna format it to float. And with this, what this does is it gives me a little, you know, so I can simply not include this, but I can just use the round comma 2, and then just to really reinforce it, I can add this in. But yeah, you don't have to use this if you use round comma 2. But if you really want to make sure that it is formatted with the 2 decimal for float, right? Because with the round, it will just round off with this. And so I don't really need this, but you can include it. So this is just a format also with 2 decimal. Okay. So this allows me to format to 0.2 in float. Now, if I don't use round here, and if I use the curly brace, then I have to do the dot format and then pass the variable name. Okay.
Can you run this one?
Yeah.
I want to see what happened for that number part.
Yeah, so when we, and if you wanted to see all the decimal, take off the round, and so it will round up, of course. So here's my order, right? Information. My discount is, let me put it over here so you can see it. Okay, so my discount for the large is $2, of course, because we bought 3 large pizza. And then, so it shows me that this is the order after the discount or with the discount. And then the discount for the medium, of course, we bought 2 pizzas, so we got the $1, so that checks. And then the medium pizza order with the discount is $20.98. And then, so therefore our total is $57.95. Okay.
I'm not
Yes.
clear. This 100 part is means the remainder, right?
Yes. Right. That's the remainder. Michelle?
If you didn't want to put print no discount applied under the else, can you just put print with an empty, with no argument in the parentheses? Is that like not kosher?
No. Yeah. It's not. But technically we want to show them something, right? We want to tell the customer, especially when you do an input, because they're still selecting their order. Like, let's say that I'm using an online app to purchase pizza and I'm adding it to cart, right? And then I wanted to see what kind of discount I get. So if I'm like a pizza under, I might just buy another pizza so I can get $2 off. So you want to tell them something there. Like so it's not a good practice just to put print empty there.
So if it was a situation where it wasn't customer related or anything, but you needed the if statement, but you didn't really need the else statement, do you have to put?
No, you can just use if, But if you want like to branch off for false, then you know, in the case where I just use if, then it only checks true for that. But if you wanted to check false, you wanted to do something there, right? Like if it checks false, then something has to execute. Otherwise, it just ends. Like what Aiko was saying at the beginning, that when she have all those ifs without the else, in some input, it just ends because, you know, there's nothing for it to go to. So your program might end earlier than what you would expect it to end based on a certain input. You see?
Yes. Okay. It's kind of like, you know, if you're supposed to sum odd numbers, but you wouldn't check for even numbers because that would be the else statement, right?
Right.
So you don't need an else, is what you're saying.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. Is that okay? And the way you format it, as long as you make sense when you display it, right, for the text, I'm okay with that because we're using dollars and cents. Then you would have the decimal there. But in some country, there's no cents, right? There's no remainder from the dollar. It would just be whole dollar or nothing, or whole bill, right? Like many countries, there's no coins to attach to that. Like America and some of the other country, we use like the additional coins, but in other country, it would just be whole number. And then so you would have to format your print for that. Okay? Any question? Okay, so that's the program that I created. I just
we can use a while loop too, right?
Yes, it's any form of control statement. I'm okay with that. Yes, you can implement the loop that you deem would be fitting for the program. There's no, you know, as long as you can get it to achieve the goal, then I'm okay with that. Yeah, there many of these you can probably implement while. And many of them also you can implement for loop. You know, in the case if you put the price into a list, let's say I have large, medium, and small, right? You can put it into list. And then, but with the Python, when you're trying to update it, it has to be tuple. We'll talk about that next week. So we can do more with this using other form of containers. Okay. Any question on the first one? We only have a few to do today, like 6. So Okay. So we're good. So I have the layout here, and then I just follow the layout when I program. Okay. Okay, so let's talk about the next one, which is a tiny bit more complex, but not so much. Okay, so quick shipping charges $2.25 per pound to ship packages 50 pounds and under. For any item over 50 pounds, quick shipping charges $1.25 for each additional pound. Okay. Write a Python program that prompts the user to input the weight of the package, then display the total shipping cost. The program should contain control statements and output. Test the program for package over 50 pounds, provide screen capture for script and output. So let's lay out the program first before we program. Okay, so A, we have what? The cost for shipping per pound, right? So we can declare variables. And in those, we would have shipping costs per pound under, at, or under 50. That's one. Then we have the second piece of information, which is your shipping costs per pound for above 50. So shipping costs above 50 pounds. That's per pound. Okay, so that's the first part. Next, we want to ask the user to input the weight. So we need to declare the variable for that as well, right? Declare variable, and that would be input weight of package. And we can simply, now it really depends on how you want to do this. In realistically, you know, at the post office, because when I wrote this, I think about, oh, okay, so how would the customer, the post office agent handle this, right? They put it on the scale, and the scale gives them the exact weight. It doesn't necessarily be whole number. So the way that you declare it, it's really up to you. You can parse it to float if you want it to handle, like, you know, 2 pounds and so many ounces, or 2 point something pounds. But for the sake of our program, right, if you wanted to use int, that's okay with me too. But realistically, we know that things are not exactly in whole number when you weight it. Okay, so consider that. So after we declare the number for the input for the weight, then what do you do next here? Should we calculate the cost, or should we enter the control statement? What do you think?
The total cost.
Okay, so we would calculate shipping cost. And that would be shipping costs per pound, okay, times weight, right? But wait, is that different if it's over 50 pounds or at under 50 pounds?
Yes.
Okay, yeah. So then we should also think about how we would do the control statement, right? So we can do an if else. And this is when we're gonna check if weight is greater or equal to 50 for the if, right? And if it is, it's gonna, if it's true, then how do you branch it? You would basically display the shipping costs that you previously calculated from C, right? Display shipping costs. I should say this is the total. Step C. If it's false, if it's over 50, then what do? We got to calculate the additional costs, right? Else here, we would calculate additional cost by doing the added cost times weight, or the difference in weight. So that means what? We still have to calculate the difference in weight. So you can operate that there, or you can have a variable that set that up right here, right? Right here. Okay. So that's up to you. And then after we calculate that, we got to show it. So this display additional costs. And then we want to bring that back, right? So when you calculate the shipping costs here, you can't just simply multiply it by $2.25. You also have to add the additional costs. Isn't that true? So when you have the additional cost, so what we still need up here that we need to fix is that if it checks over 50, right? Because when we ship, this is only gonna go up to 50 pounds. And then after that it becomes $3.50 per pound. You see that? Any suggestion? Oops, sorry. Take the weight, calculate it. So if I simply calculate it right here, it will just be $2.25 for everything. So I think it should enter this first. Right? And then once you have this, then you can do the added costs. Now, if you set that up here, you can bring it down and then you can display it down here. I changed my mind with that. I'm sorry, you guys. And then we can add the cost to it we can have the add cost. Okay. And then next we're gonna do step E. Step E would be calculate. So once you display the additional costs here, what you can do is you can also show add to costs from subsidy. And then we would display the total. So now the total, right? If it checks, if it's this is wrong, I'm sorry. If it's under or equal to 50, yeah, so if you check if it's under or equal to 50, then we just display that. If it's over, then we would find the difference. Okay. Does that look okay? Any suggestion?
And to be honest with you, I was trying to finish question 1.
Oh, you guys are still on 1.
Yeah, I'm already done with it though.
Okay. You start working on this one yet?
I'm gonna start right now.
Okay. So here we go. I will open mine up. So I forgot what I wrote. There's a lot of changes between yesterday and today. Information overload is my brain right now. So let's see. I think I name it shipping. Yep, yes I did. Okay, so here's my program. So I have package weight is input from the user. We ask the user to enter the weight. Then my ship cost is $2.25. And then additional cost is $1.25. We enter the control statement. If package weight is less than or equal to 50, we have the total ship cost times package weight. Else, the remainder, we would take package weight minus 50 because that's if it's higher than 50, we would get a difference. Then we would have a total that's going to be remainder times the additional cost plus 50 times ship cost. Okay. Then we print it with the format. So run this. So I'm going to test it for 70 pounds. My shipping cost would be $137.50. Okay. Question? Does that look okay? So what we did was we just mapped out this program, right? So I think that when you implement the control statement here with if else, you first need to check for the weight, then calculate the cost with the weight that's under 50, and that needs to happen in the if. Then for the else, then we can look at the remainder because that would be the other condition is that if it's higher, then we're going to have the added $1.25 per pound to the 50 cost that already exists. So you would have the total with the remainder times additional ship cost plus 50 times ship cost. Okay. And then we want to display the shipping cost. You can also display this part if you want, if you put it into a separate variable, and you can show the additional costs. But a lot of times people just want to ship their package, right? They enter the weight and then it will give them the total, and that's how much they pay. Okay. And the rate is high, probably for like over, you know, not even overnight, maybe like 2 business days or something like that. But any question? So you can have an idea of what you're going to be doing. So here's my output. Now I'm going to run it again and check it for it's under. So let's say that we're setting something that's 30 pounds, and that's going to only give us $67.50 because we don't have to pay for the extra, you know, overweight package. Okay, question? So this one only uses one if else, super simple. You can whip that up after you declare your variable, make sure that it does the proper calculation, and then we just have to have the print. Okay, and in this one, I use the dot format, and when you do that, you simply have it, you can include it inside the string, and then follow it with the dot format, and then pass the variable that contains the value. Okay, if you don't have any question, we'll go ahead and move on to the next one. Okay, so 3, it says in training for 5K, which is approximately 3.11 miles marathon, Sandra runs 2 miles on Monday, 4 miles on Tuesday, 3 miles on Thursday, and 5 miles on Friday. Write a Python program to determine if Sandra's average miles ran for the week is higher than the marathon requirement, which is 3 miles, 0.11, right? The program should contain control statement and appropriate output, provide screen capture and script. So let's walk through this step again. We need to declare variable. And in this case, our ultimate goal is to sum up these numbers and determine the average, because it's looking for the average, right? So we would have a variable for sum or total miles, and then from there we would define, or you can use another variable for average, because then after that, what we need to do is we need to check, right, if her average is above 3.11 miles. So we can check. So we would do an if else. And what we would do is, oops. First, we would check for the if. Average is greater or equal to 3.11, right? And if it is so, then we can print, right? Met requirement. Else, it would, if it goes false, then we would print not met. Pretty easy. Can I do something else besides just, instead of like variable and add everything up, you can do the sum method with that, right? Or what can I do to find the total miles? Can I use a for loop?
Yes.
Yeah. So right up here, what you can do is you can also use, your other option would be for loop, right? If you're using if for list. And that list would contain miles ran each day. You can index it. So we can have it access 2 miles, 4 miles, 3 miles, and 5 miles, and then do a sum with that, right? And you can use a for loop with that. And then under that, we can do an if else statement to check the average. If the average is over 3.11. And then after you find the for loop, you should compute average, of course, if that's your option. Okay. Now this is option B. If you don't do the variables for each day, I can have Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday variable, and then have add it up. Now you can do a running sum. You can do a, use a for loop to add up all the values in that list, and then do an if else to check. Okay. So that would be the approach. Any question? Okay. Ready to see the program? So as you know that when you do a for loop, you got to initialize that total because, right, to make sure that it's going to be available to hold your value. As here I'm doing a running sum. So I add each one up as it loops. That's why we call it a running sum. So I have training miles is 2435 in a list. And of course, if you're not using lists, then you would have the variable to be able to add the values up. And then I initialize total. And I put for I in training miles for each of the value in the index. I wanted to add them together and store it in total. And then after that, I would divide it by 4 to get the average. And so first, I print average miles ran in training. I show that. And if you wanted to really display, because from here, right, what we have is we have the average mile. If you wanted to show the decimal, then format it with the decimal. Then next, I enter the if statement. If the average is above the 5K, which is approximately 3.11 miles, then we can say that she's ready for the marathon. Otherwise, else, we print not ready for the marathon. So when we run this, it shows that Sandra ran 3.5 miles in average for the week, and 3.5, when we check that, that would check true because it's above 3.11, which is the 5K. So she should be okay as training for the marathon. Okay. Any question? Instead of doing this, you can do a total, you can do a compound assignment operator there. You can do a total plus equal I. That's the same thing as doing total plus I there. So this is one approach, and the other approach, like I said, is to use individual variable for each day. And if you opt to not use the for loop, you can also implement while, but you know, so. Are we okay with this? Any questions? So this one is fairly short. My intention for this one is for you to use either for or while, whichever one that you like to do. So you can expand or improve your skill, especially if you're new to writing loops. Question? No question. Okay, so let's talk about the next one. ClearTalk Mobile charges its customer $49.99 per month for mobile services, which includes 2 GB of data transfer. Additional data transfer will cost customer $5.99 per gigabyte each month. Write a Python program to calculate the annual cost for the customer that requires 5 GB of data transfer each month. The program should contain appropriate control statement and output, provide screen capture of script and output. So we have, each month we know that the customer is already paying $49.99 per month, and for the 2 gig of data transfer. But if they go over, then they have to pay an additional $5.99 per gigabyte each month. So we need to calculate the annual cost that the customer would require 5 GB for data transfer each month. Okay, so we already know that this is going to be the added cost. So very similar to the one before last, very similar to the quick shipping one that you did. So you can use the same approach for that because it's additional cost. But on this one, we got to scale it out for the whole year. So after you find the cost with the added cost, you got to multiply it by the whole for the 12 months. Okay. So the approach for this would be we would start with declare variables, and for monthly service, and we know that that's $49.99. We also need to have the variable for our data transfer. Okay, it depends on how you wanted to do that. So for the added data transfer, we also need, we know that they need to pay $5.99. So added costs, that's above 2 gigs per month. Okay. We also have to have a variable that would hold. If you want to do the input for that, you don't have to do the input for that. You can put it in as assigned value. So we wanted to do a variable for customer data use, because we want to use that to check against the 2 gig that's required to see if there's any added cost. Okay. So first we can do an if else. And so for our if, we would check if customer data use is above or equal 2 gigabyte. And if it is, then we would have it compute additional costs. Then we would print it. If it's not, then we go to else. We would print the monthly service. Okay. Then lastly, with the next step, we would compute yearly costs. And we would take monthly service with additional costs multiplied by 12. And then from there, we would go ahead and print it, right? Okay, so that maps out what you would be doing there. First, we declare the variables for that holds monthly cost, added cost per month, customer data use. Then we enter the control statement if else. If the customer data use is above or at 2 gig, we would compute the additional costs and print it. Else we would print the monthly service, which is a flat rate of $49.99. Then next we would compute the yearly costs, because we already know that it's above, so we would do a monthly service with the additional cost times 12, then print the yearly costs. Okay. Any question? Okay, so let me get the program. Oops. Okay, so I have this one I actually put it in a variable. So here I declared monthly cost $49.99. My minimum data use is 2 gigs. So 2, that's the requirement that came with the service here. My additional cost is $5.99 a month for any additional gigabyte. My customer data is 5 gig. So first I would have the charge. This is going to be the customer data minus the minimum data. So I find the difference from the minimum requirement to what the customer want. That would be 3 gigs. And then I would multiply it with the additional cost. So my A charge represents the added cost for the monthly. Then my month charge, my M charge here represents the monthly cost plus the A charge, the additional charge. Okay, so that would be for the additional data transfer with the monthly cost. Then next, I enter the if statement. If customer data is above or equal to minimum data, my monthly cost with the additional data is, and then I bring down the M charge, which has the added charge. And then the annual cost, I just simply multiply it by 12. Okay, and then I print it. So my monthly charge here includes the difference with the added data use. And then I multiply it by 12 to give me the year. Else, if it's under, right, I simply calculate the yearly. Okay, I show the monthly cost, which is $49.99, and then I multiply it by 12 to give me the year cost. So we got our monthly cost for 5 gigabyte use per month with the additional charge is $67.96. In a year for that, we will pay $815.52. Okay. Any question? No question? So this one is also another if else, very easy. Oops. I showed the pizza one. I didn't intend to do that. Yeah, that's what I wanted. Okay. So make sure that you have the declaration of the variable so that way you can use the comparison operator in the if statement to check like your minimum data. And if you don't put that into a variable, you can just put the number there. Okay. And then for the additional cost, we want to compute that because we want to add it to the monthly service fee, which is $49.99, and then we'll calculate it for the year. question? So with the dollars and cents, make sure that we have the format, right? So you can use the round or you can use it this way. You can set it up with the curly brace with the dot format so you can have the cents, the 2 decimal places display. Okay, no question on that one. We got a couple more and then that's it. So, the web TV, I think I used the for loop instead of the while, but you can implement the while. So web TV charges its customer $30 a month for monthly subscription. Due to the cost of inflation, the company will increase the subscription fee by $2 each subsequent month. Month 1, month 2, month 3. So it starts at $30. The next month they raise it by $2 and then so forth. Write a Python program to calculate the subscription costs for 1 year. The program should contain range and while statement. Provide the screen capture with the script and output. Okay. So we know that we need to start at 30 and then we need to stop at the end of the year. Okay. So when you do the start stop, you start at the first month, which is month 1, right? And then you're going to go 12 months. But if you put in 12, it's going to cut off, right? Because it's going to stop at like 11. So if you want to include 12, then you gotta stop at 13. You got to put the marker at 13. But we're stepping 2, so we're going to increase $2 each time. So we would step 2. Okay, so that's how we would use the range. Now, to begin the program, what we can do is we can establish the variables. First is that we need to state, right, how much the charge would be, okay? Or we can simply get it to be in the for loop. So just to make it easy for you to, this one is a little bit more complicated, so I want to show it. Not too complicated, just a little bit more advanced. I think I name it Web TV. Okay. So here you have, I initialize the total. Okay. And then I would, instead of using, so we would do the range and we would start at 30. So for index in range, and we know that we need to have 12 months, okay? And why do we put 53 there? Because if you do 1 round, that's 12, and then you multiply it by 2, that's what, so wait, if you count from 30 to the 12 gives you 42, and then count it again. So because you wanted to step 2, so your marker stop will be at 53, okay? And then as you do that for loop, you would access each of the index in the range and you would add it up. So it's going to increment from 30. So we have 30, 32, 34, etc. Okay. Now we want to convert our total, because remember this was an integer in here. So we want to convert the total into float because it's dollars and cents, right? And then we would format and print it. So it's not, you know, once you get through the range part, it's super easy. Okay, so it tells us that it's $492, and you can also check it as well. So it's gonna step it to. Now, if you want to do a print here to check, you can also do that, right? You can have it print out each of the index, so that way it shows you the first month, the second month, the third month, and so forth, and then it would just get it through that way. Okay. So for the range, we start at 30. Okay, we stop at 53. Okay, because if you count it up from 30, okay, after with the 12 months, then we're gonna go to 53, and then we're gonna step 2. So it's gonna do 30, 32. 32 is 1, right? 34 is the next one, and so forth. So that's why we have to end up at 53. Because if you put 52, it's going to cut it short. So, question.
So you don't need to indent the total?
No, you can put it all on one line. That's the, you can, traditionally we would, but the way Python is, you can have it all on one line. That would be the body, as long as you have the colon. Okay.
So the homeworks or the instructions say to use a while.
Yeah. So what you would do is you would implement the while with the range with it. So you still have to initialize at total.
That's
right?
that's not redundant.
No. I'll tell you what you can use for a while, but you see how it's done with for, right? We practice, because if you look at our notes, I have 2 sections of it. One that we looked at how we would implement it with the while, and then the right before that we implement it with the for. So,
Okay.
yeah. Okay, so just try to see if you can write it in with the while loop. But this is done, you can do it with the for loop. Okay. And then we convert it to floats, so that way it would shows the dollars. Okay. With the 00. You don't have to do that, but just to make it look nice, we would format it. And under here, if you wanted to have it print each time that it adds it, or before it adds it, or you can have it print each of the index as it goes through the range, so you can check. Okay, so that's another way to verify. Any question? And you can use single or double quotation mark. My husband wanted me to tell you to use single quotation mark. It's a better practice. But I'm you know, I'm so used to Java and C++, so I still type everything with double quotation mark for string. And any question on this one? Okay, so on the last one, which is and added to what we've done a few weeks ago, because I introduced if else a while back, okay, like maybe in week 3, a couple weeks ago. So this one is also a loan type of program to check. So you have a financial company that qualifies the customer for 3% interest based on the credit criteria, the income, and the employment. So we would have to check credit scores that needs to be at 650 or higher. Then your annual income is $40,000 or higher, and they have to be a full-time employee for 3 or more years. Okay, so those are the 3 things that we need to check. Now, we learned when we talked about this a few weeks ago, you can implement logical operator with this. That's fine, like using and. We saw how that's done, right? But if you wanted to do the nested if, it's just a little bit more lengthy and it's not as efficient. However, I want you to see how you can do if else. So this is one not so efficient approach. However, it applied the concept. So with this number 6, if you have if else, that will be very long and a lot. However, you know, it gives you practice with nested if else. So I'm looking for the nested if else in this one, right? And then we want to qualify the customer for the loan. Okay, so we want to have the input. So the first step, we would have to declare variables, of course, and here we would have input of credit score, right? Input annual income, and input of our employed years. Okay, that will be the first part to our program. Then once we have the input, we can check using nested if. Okay, now to clean it up, instead of using multiple if else statements or nested, we would have the logical and, like I said. So we can do an if else to check credit score above or equals 650. So if the credit score is above, then we would qualify them, right? Right. Now, otherwise, we would have the else. If it's under, then we would have it show that they did not approve. Not qualified. And we want to be nicer about this, of course, realistically. Okay, and then we would have, you know, so when you nest the if, then you would have the other ifs inside it. Okay, like what you've seen as I showed that to Echo this morning or this afternoon. So you would have if annual income is greater than equal to 40,000, right? Print qualify. Now, why do we care about that, right? So the else, if they don't meet one of the condition when it nests it, and you have to do a proper indent. Okay, so I would indent this in so you can see. Print message. And then we would have another if, and we would check for employed years is greater and equal to 3. Okay, so from the outside in, we would have the else here, right? That will be print message again. And then on the next level here, we would have another else here. So that's how my program would look like. So you have the if, and then the else, the else, the else. Okay, that's number 6. So declare variables, store input for credit score, input annual income, input employee years. And you can parse it all as integer. That will be okay. That should be able to hold, 40,000 just fine. Or in the, in that range just fine. And then we can check the credit score is above or equal to 650, print message. If the annual income is above 40,000, print message. If employed years is above 3 or at 3, print message. And then just make sure we have the proper indentation with this one. Okay, question. So if you can map out the program like this, it's very quick and easy for you to fill it in. And some of you work better with flowchart, right? So before we start the program, we kind of wanted to outline it and see what we need to do as far as, adding in the components for that program. So that way we can have proper processes executed. Okay, so let's take a look at the program real quick. Okay, so I have user credit score as input, user salary as input. So I said enter your credit score, enter your annual salary, enter your years of employment. So enter the number of years employed. So if the credit score is above equal to 650, if the user salary is above equal to 40, if the user years of employment is above 3, print you qualify for 3% loan. Else, sorry, you meet the credit score and salary, but the number of years employed is not met. So you work from the outside in. The inside out. So the else here represents the credit score that's met and the salary that's met, but the last one, the last if, right? They did not meet that last if there. So that's that first else. The second else on the next level is for that they met the credit score, but no salary met. Okay. And then the next else is that they did not meet the credit score. Okay. So I just put, sorry, we need a minimum score of 650 to qualify. And then the next one, right, sorry, you meet the credit score, but your salary did not meet the requirement and the years. And then on the last else inside here, sorry, you meet the credit score salary, but your years of employment is not met. It's too short. Okay. So when we run this, it asks us for our credit score. So let's say I put 700, right? My salary, let's say I put under $35,000. And then the years of employment, let's say that I put 4 years. And yeah, it still tells me that I meet the credit score, but my salary is under, right? However, that you need to tweak the message. I think my message is not fully tweaked, but you need to make sure that the message display the right context. Have the right context to that. Okay. So nested if for number 6. Any question? No question? Okay, so far we went over different types of program, a lot of the if-else statement. We finished with the last nested if, right? We looked at a for with the range, like what we've done in the lecture itself on Monday. And then you also saw how we can implement for loop to access the values, to do the adding for the miles for the marathon. So yeah, I encourage you to practice and just, you know, get better at just writing and cleaning up the program to make it look nice and efficient. But yeah, this one is not that great in efficiency. However, it teaches you to use different level of if else. Okay, question. Okay, so this is not due until 2 days from now. So you have from now until Friday to submit it. If you finish it today, you can turn it in. I'm sorry I'm a little delay on your grading. It's just been a very crazy week, or also last week. So I intend to take some time tomorrow and clean up the grades for all my class. And I gotta finalize my non-credit classes so I can send that in tonight or tomorrow. There is a scholarship that I put in an announcement. So if you are pursuing engineering, right, make sure that you send, and if you want that $1,000 or to be a contestant for that $1,000, you send detailed information to me, your transcript and a little blurb, like maybe half of a page, about what kind of hardship you overcame, what kind of goals you have in education, what kind of area in the engineering field that you want to study. And this money is coming from General Electrics. Every year they give away some kind of money. So we have until tomorrow to get your recommendation in. And from what I know is, there's 2 slots for Moreno Valley College student. So I try to plug you guys in, and if you can get that $1,000, more power to you, right? And I'm sorry that came really late. It just, my boss sent it to me at night, right? When she was going through her email. And so I don't have a lot of headroom either, but get it to me today so I can send it in. I know some of you sent that to me already. So I will submit it as I put it all together in each sub zip folder, and then I'll send it up to her. And then she'll send it to the person that's reviewing the application or the recommendation. Okay. So that's one. I think the other, yeah, so there's some other areas that, that we can also look at awards and nominations and such. But I hope you have a wonderful weekend.
Question.
Yes.
You mentioned that this program isn't efficient. What did you mean by that?
inefficient is because I could have made it. So when the operation with the performance is that it's going to have to run and check as individual processes here, you know, where we could have tied the user credit and the salary and the years of employment all in like one statement. So we can, yeah. So that way it cleans it up so it doesn't, it's a little bit more lengthy that it has to go through and check. To the user in general, not a huge difference, but when you have like data input that's larger than you know, the number that we're looking at now, then it becomes inefficient because there's additional resources that needs to be dedicated to that, you know? So yeah. Yeah, my husband was looking at this yesterday and he's like, ew, it's so ugly. I said, well, you know, they have to learn how to use the nested if. And he's like, why? Why don't you just do it with the logical? I said, I know, but they need to know how to use the nested if. So that was the point that I want to drive home. But yes, you can use the logical operator to tie it all together and clean it up. So it will be a shorter program, more efficient, neater, nicer. And of course, that would likely be what the companies are looking for.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, sometimes he walks by and he said, what are you working on? And I would say, oh, this and this. And then he said, oh, let me look. So okay, any other questions? All right. Have a wonderful weekend. If I don't see you in the next class or during office hours, you're welcome to drop by. I have another office hour tomorrow. And get some rest, and I'll see you next week. Okay. And also, yeah, before you go, I'm sorry. Let me finish. Let me look at who got quizzes. Did I close that already? Oh, it's still running. So you still got 2 more days. So if you want to compete for the quizzes, it's there. Okay, don't forget. And then I'll let you know next week who wins. All right, have a good weekend. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Ricky, you have any question? I updated some of your assignments grade. Okay. So, but I will get everything updated for you soon. Okay, bye, Ricky.